So, what we're looking at emerging is what they've been planning to introduce and impose all this time. And that is a global version of Nazi Germany, which is why the methods of Nazi Germany are becoming more and more prevalent every day. But I emphasize again, the people you see in the public arena, like the Bushes and the Blairs and people like that, they are nowhere near the top of the pyramid. I'm probably being optimistic if I say they're here. These are the people that are put into power to introduce the agenda through legislation and sending people to war that is decided in those levels above them in the network, particularly up here. So while they do their job, they are supported. When they cease to do their job, they're removed through various ways. And they are as much fodder as anyone else. Blair may be flavour of the month for a while, but when he's outlived his usefulness to the agenda, then he is of no interest to the people that's been controlling him and giving him his power. He's just a vehicle, just a pawn in a game that probably he doesn't fully understand. This, like I said at the start, is where they want to take us, and we're seeing it happening all the time. They want the world government, central bank, the world currency, the world army, and the microchip population. And then they want the European Union, the American Union, the Pacific Union, the African Union. And by the time we get down to what are now nation states and regions, they are little more than county councils. And like I say, the further you are making decisions away from people, the less relevance they have to the people that they are affecting. And that's the idea. And the European Union, of course, has reached the point now where any law passed in Westminster is not valid if it's superseded by one in Europe that says something different. We've got this ludicrous situation with these people that have stalls on markets that were taken to court for having their fruit and vegetables available in pounds and ounces or the metric system, even though the customers want it, which is the level of imposition we've got to. And they just want a global version of it. This is why we're having this explosion of laws and legislation. And that's the other thing. People have this perception that laws come into force by people having debates in parliaments and then voting for them. Thousands of laws come into place every year that are known as secondary legislation, for which there is no debate. They just decide that's what they're going to do. And that's what is introduced. And the only word you can think of when you look at that situation is fascism. And this is where the word fascism came from. The fasci from the Roman Empire, surprise, surprise, symbolizing fascism by the rods, symbolizing individuality, individual choice, individual expression of life, being tightly woven together and ruled by the axe head at the top. That's where fascism comes from. And how symbolic that is of the European Union. Going by the very symbol from which we get the word fascism, the European Union is a fascist state. And why, in this land of liberty called America, do we have the fascist symbols on this symbol here that talks about liberty? This is a secret society in America called the Knights of Columbus, the Knights of Columba, the Knights of Semiramis. At the very center you have the fascist symbol from which the word came. Here's the state of Colorado in the land of the free. At the very heart of it is the fascist symbol with the all-seeing eye type pyramid. You see that symbol with the Semiramis symbolism of the goddess of the French Republic. And when the village idiot is making his State of the Union speech, or anyone else is speaking in the Congress building, behind him are, on the wall of the Congress building in the land of the free, two fascist symbols that you would have found behind Adolf Hitler. Very few people seem to see this. Here, look, here's the fascist symbol on a stamp from the Nazi period of Germany and Italy. And here's the fascist symbol in the Congress building of the United States. Why? Because the same mentality is in control of both. So this is what we're looking at. And the key, almost the jewel in the crown of this whole structure that they want, is the microchipped population. I was asked to meet a CIA scientist back in, I think it was 97 it was, because he wanted to get information out, but he couldn't because of the situation he was in. This is a man who joined the CIA in his 20s thinking he was serving his country. He was a scientist in an area of magnetics. Brilliant, apparently, and cutting edge. He told me I could produce the technology that can create abundant growth in deserts without water by resonating the natural energy fields of the plant. He said at its optimum, it's like watching a time-lapse photograph, so quick do they grow. He also said the cure for cancer has been known for years, and he's actually had cancer and they cured him because they wanted him to continue what he was doing. But when he first joined the CIA, he thought he was serving his country. Then he realizes that this whole kind of stuff that we're talking about today was true. It was happening, and it was happening around him. They wanted his genius to advance this agenda. And I said the obvious question, why do you do it? And he opened his shirt, and on his chest was this like plastic see-through shampoo sachet, and inside was some orangey golden liquid. He said, this is why I do it. In the CIA, they call these things patches. Someone's been patched. And what happened, he said, when he realized what the game was, he refused to work for them. And then he left his home one day on the west coast of America, and he has missing time. He doesn't know what happened after that until he woke up in a medical type room on a bench. And as he got his faculties back, he realized this thing was stuck to his chest. And what they do is they manipulate their body to need the drug inside the patch to survive, and it has to be replaced every 72 hours. And if it's not, then they start to die a very, very unpleasant death. He knows that's true because he tried it out and rebelled again after he'd been patched. And he said there are thousands of scientists in underground bases who are patched in the same way so that they will use their genius to advance this agenda that we're talking about. And one of the things they do, just very quickly, is they'll develop something like high technology, like the high technology that's coming in now as part of the surveillance program, and they will release them through their transnational corporations from the underground projects. And then the cover story comes, some guy within the corporation has invented this fantastic new technology. No, it's been slipped out of the underground projects to be unleashed on the public through the corporation. And so the microchip, this guy was telling me, at that time in 1997, he said outside the public arena, these microchips are now so small they can be inserted during hypodermic vaccination programs, in hypodermic needles. And about a year after that, this picture was in the newspaper, massively blown up, of an ant holding a microchip in its pincers, and they got even smaller than that now, because we're talking about this nanotechnology and all the other stuff. And he said to me, if people say no to just one thing in this whole agenda, say no to the microchip. Because, he said, it's not just about electronic tagging. He said it's about manipulating people mentally, emotionally and physically from a distance through access to the chip in their bodies. And he said they're capable of making us emotionally down, emotionally high, scrambling our thinking so we can't think straight, and also affecting us physically from a distance. And that's the idea. He said they can do it en masse, or they can target an individual. And in my books, I've been talking about this for years and even named the company involved. In America now, there's a company called Applied Digital Solutions who are introducing more and more something called the Very Chip. And this is the agenda for it, although they won't tell you that. The bar-coded human. This is the Very Chip. And this is what I found in a mainstream news report. Washington, UPI. The Department of Health and Human Services said Thursday that it was about to begin testing a new technology designed to help more closely monitor and assist the nation's homeless population.